The S word, I'm not going to say it for
No,
you.
no, no.
But the S word in urban world kind of means to wild out, to be flamboyant, to kind of freak out, as it is.
Losing control.
Yeah, losing control, whether it's on the dance floor, in life. And so the reason why I think Beyoncé hasn't actually apologised about this is because ignorance has been bliss in her world, in the sense where she wasn't actually saying it as a derogatory term, which is quite surprising because it was only a few weeks ago that Lizzo was actually slammed for using that in one of her tracks called Girls, and she apologised for it, where Beyoncé hasn't apologised, but she says she will re-record the song and remove the lyrics.
But the album's been released already, though, hasn't it?
It was released last week, Friday, and it's set to chart this week. So I know it's going to be a big issue for people such as Apple, Spotify and all the streaming services, because they're going to have to get rid of that version and add a new one. But then it begs the question, what's going to happen with the people who already have bought the album and have heard such lyrics?
OK, well, let's bring in Warren Kirwan from Scope this morning. Very good to see you. Lots of our viewers and listeners this morning quite exercised by this. Their view is that music is artistic. We should be free to express ourselves. And when you start to censor things to affect people's offence, then it doesn't become expressive and we're not living in a free society. Do you see that there is an argument there to be had?
I see where they're coming from and I see why they've made that argument and that debate. I would question if this was a similar word about race or gender, would we be having the same debate? Would they be making the same argument? I suspect they probably wouldn't. And the same issue will probably go for the writers of that song.
I would suggest there are a lot of misogynistic words used in music at the moment, which we aren't insisting are all removed from all of our playlists. And, you know, it's whether or not you choose to be offensive, but perhaps just choose not to listen to that track if it offends you.
So let's go back to where this word came from. This S word has long been opposed by disabled people in this country. We changed our name 30 years ago. Disabled people said that was a really offensive term. We should not use it. And actually, our words matter. They count. They impact on attitudes. They impact on how we perceive disabled people. They impact on what we think disabled people can do and should do. And actually, a lot of people speaking out about this are disabled people. And one of the great things is I think we're getting better at speaking out and saying, actually, this is not acceptable.
I mean, there is a word, spasticity, which is used by the medical profession to describe what affects 80%, I think, of people with cerebral palsy, where it affects the muscle control and so on. Should we actually have put that out and be quite clear about it to avoid it becoming this colloquial term in the States particularly, where people don't actually understand what's going on to those people with a condition?
Well, I think, first and foremost, most people don't want to be defined by their condition. Most people want to be defined by who they are.
Right.
They want to get up, go to work, have a job, have a family, pay the mortgage off. They don't want to be defined by a specific condition or a medical condition.
It's the whole thing, the disabled and a disabled person.
Yes.
It's that difference.
Yeah. So it's not defining by somebody by one of their characteristics, by who they are as their character and their person, and what they want to do and what they want to achieve in life. And I think disabled people have long campaigned not to be seen as a medical description. And to be seen as a human being and as a person.
But Warren, sorry, I want to bring Stephanie back in on this, because Warren was saying there that, you know, very much in this country, this word has certain medical connotations. But as you were alluding to, in particularly African-American culture, it has totally different meaning. Are we now living in an era where record labels in the States or wherever they may be will have to look at the lyrics that their artists are using and see if any of those cause offence in any of the possible countries where that is bought? And therefore, what are the implications for that? If artists then have to re-record, retract material all over the world. I mean, it has huge implications.
But the thing is, I think as well, now, like, look at the backlash now, because it almost spoils a moment for Beyoncé with her new album coming out. So as much as it's about freedom of speech, we know how cancel culture has been so big recently that it's not even worth it using such words. But the thing is, both artists and both fans have become very desensitised now. It's like the N-word that's used in rap music all the time. It's now used so casually. It is a racist, derogative term. But now people use it as a term of endearment. But now you can't get away with such things. So there has to be a change. So
is the recording or the recording industry a little bit, what should we say, naive? I'm just looking at what Beyonce's spokesperson said. The word was not used intentionally in a harmful way, which is not actually recognising using it, as we've heard, is actually harmful.
To be honest, there's been probably loads of artists that have used this word, but because it's an artist like Beyonce, everyone's woken up and paid attention to it. So there's probably Lizzo, Beyonce, those kind of sort of people, they can't get away with it. But a well-unknown artist can get away with it. So it begs to differ who it's coming from, and because it's coming from
There's
Beyonce,
a different weight.
But I'm glad that this has actually happened, because it's education for all of us. Because, you know, if it's not brought into the limelight, we won't know.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to bring you, Warren, a couple of the emails that we're getting in here, just whilst we've been having this discussion. This is from Bernard Carney. He says, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. This is a few campaigners stopping freedom of speech." Colin McAlpine, "The world of wordplay is completely pathetic. People do not live their lives worrying about words." Sticks and stones, also using that analogy. "Get over yourselves. We are a worldwide laughingstock."
Well, we've just completed the largest ever survey of disabled people's experiences, and attitudes have a massive impact on disabled people's lives.
Yeah.
So not only, and they make it hard for people to go to school, go to work, get in education, use public transport, and actually we found that, surprisingly, it affects younger people much more. So when these attitudes and these words that have really negative stereotypes about disabled people are reinforced by a global superstar, that has an impact. So this isn't just an academic debate we're having. It's a real-world impact on real disabled people who just want to get on and live their lives.
What would you say to Beyoncé and her decision to change it all?
I think credit where credit's due. I think recognise you made a mistake, coming out and changing it. An apology would be nice, but actually recognising the mistake is very good.